Recently, the Dutch Senate approved a new law making it a default situation that every citizen in the Netherlands is an organ donor, unless you have yourself removed and put on a list, which is what I did many years ago. In any case, I did a lot of reading so that now I can inform you about how this organ transplantation procedure takes place, with a lot of thanks to the work of Annette Wood, a Dutch artist that gathered a lot of testimonies. These bring back memories to the work of Dr. Hannibal Lecter. First of all, an organ donor has to be dead, brain dead. So a hospital will run tests like shining a light in someone's eye or rubbing a cotton stick over someone's cornea, just to see if there's any reaction. Fairly harmless, which is not the case with an apnea test, a test that is potentially harmful for a recovering body. Same goes for a CT scan. A CAT scan is a high doses of X-ray that could potentially lead to cancer. In my life, I don't want a CAT scan ever. Still, with the results of the test indicating that the brain is still active, it may still happen that the transplantation team continues towards taking out of the organs. There is such a case. And there have been many more cases of people that were declared brain dead that still later regained consciousness and managed to continue their life in some way or another. It also means that people that were declared brain dead underwent a procedure while still being consciousness. Imagine that. Well, first of all, to prevent flailing and protest by the body of the organ donor, the donor is either strapped down or is given muscle relaxant so that the body is basically paralyzed. Then there is not much a person can do to indicate that he's still alive. Sometimes a tear may run away from the corner of the eye to indicate that somebody is fully aware of what's happening, and a family member may spot that and protest and avoid the organ transplantation. But you have to be a strong character. As a family member, you're put under an enormous pressure to go ahead and approve the organ donation to save other people. The organ transplantation takes place. Let's say the body is strapped down and starts protesting. The face will distort to indicate the agony, and the transplantation team is told to ignore that because they are absolutely sure that these are involuntary movements and nothing happens. The body is flooded with different fluids to cool down the organs, to clean the organs, to dilate vessels, and a conscious donor will have to endure that. That is not a nice way to die, of course. So at the end, when the body is turned into a mess, it is transferred into a casket, a coffin, which is immediately closed. Sometimes family members insist on seeing the deceased before the burial, and they will be faced with the distorted face of someone who clearly died in agony. These testimonies have been gathered. From the other side, the receiver is not yet saved. He has to take a lot of medicines to suppress his immune system to avoid rejection of the new organs. Now this means that he's susceptible to infection, and he has to take these medicines for a longer time. So he can get sick from infections. And then still, depending on which organ we're talking about, there's still a good chance, some 30% chance, that the organ is still rejected. And it's heart-wrenching to look at the testimonies of, for instance, a young boy whose donor heart is being rejected. They have nothing left. It is also a tragedy, of course, that so many people still think of death as the ultimate end and not as a continuation into a new phases. Whether they go to heaven or reincarnate, it doesn't matter. The other aspect is the soul. Now, modern medicine assumes, without proof, that your consciousness, your memory better, is stored in your brain. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, in his presentation and in his book, indicates that science has absolutely no proof that that is true. And there are indications that it isn't true. Like from one organ receiver, a woman who received the heart and lungs of a motorcyclist. She didn't know that, but when she woke up, she was asked, "What would you like?" And she said, "I could go for a beer," which she never said before. And later on, she wanted to go to Kentucky Fried Chicken for chicken McNuggets. It turns out that this motorcyclist, whose organs she received, was very much into beer and chicken McNuggets. Or a donor may start off being right-handed and after the operation be left-handed. Things like that indicate that the soul is not solely stored in the brain or the memory or consciousness, but more throughout the body, in all the organs. And you have to wonder, what does that mean for the soul, if you're into that? When the rest of the body dies, does the soul have to wait until all the organs die or are rejected when the receivers die, until they can go on to the next life or nirvana or what have you? Or can the soul continue on to the next life and the rest of the soul that is still in the organs will be following later? Unfortunately, such questions are not raised in Parliament, so you have to figure it out for yourself. Finally, I don't like a government that declares your organs to be theirs. As a human being, we are not a wandering bag of organs to be harvested when we no longer seem to be alive. It used to be so that you could consciously choose to leave your organs to others for their life. Now that possibility is taken away, and it is the government's charity that will deliver a new organ to your body. It reeks of socialism, and I am quite allergic to socialism. Why? Well, in socialism, in communism, nothing is yours to start with anyway. Everything's from the state. So, I leave you with this information. Personally, I'm completely done with being a donor, but do some investigation for yourself, take personal responsibility, and in any case, thanks for watching. if you like, leave a like, drop a comment and subscribe.